And there is a lot to do in England. There is a lot to do. So living with a tight budget, it's not really nice, because like a lot of restaurants to explore, good food to taste, but also traveling is very expensive. So if you want to travel around the United Kingdom, you want to make sure that you have enough money to do so. So you don't want to be spending so much money on accommodation. I had to take a side gig to be able to like enjoy the other perks of like buying clothes and all of that, because there's a lot of sales here as well. So you want to make sure that you take advantage of those.
This is a continuation of part 1. If you have not watched that video, please click the link on top of the screen and make sure that you watch that video to be able to understand what I'm talking about in this current video.
Another thing is that the earlier you book your accommodation, the better. So after watching this video, just rush to Google and start making plans to book your accommodation, because prices do go up as the demand shoots up. But I mean, we are in a different climate with COVID. A lot of people don't know whether they're going to be attending classes physically or they'll have to do long distance learning. I feel for you guys if that is going to be your reality, because I wouldn't want to study an international degree from home. Because the good thing about an international degree is that you don't just get education from it, you also get like these other things, these other elements, forming relationships with people from different backgrounds and all of that. So yeah, things to consider when you are making a decision about your accommodation. Transport. Make sure that your accommodation is very close or accessible to transport that links you to your university, because you will struggle. The winter here is terrible, and sometimes it's hard to wake up. For someone like me who's from Africa where it's hot, it's really a challenge waking up in winter. And usually in winter we have shorter days, so the sun will only rise at 8:30, latest 9, and then it sets at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you want to make sure that you have good transportation that will link you between your place or your accommodation and the university. You need to make sure that your bills are covered. I personally don't want to stress about water or electricity, running out of electricity in winter because I did not pay or I forgot or whatever. You need to make sure that your rent includes, this is my recommendation. I mean, there are people who live in accommodations where it doesn't include bills, and they still have to sort that out, and they go about just fine. But for me, I don't want to stress about that. I just want to focus on academics and just getting my degree. I don't want to be stressing about water and electricity and cleaning and sewage. No. So make sure that your rent is inclusive of bills. They will tell you when they quote the amount that it's inclusive of bills. When it's not, usually they will indicate how much utilities cost. So what you need to do is that when you're thinking about your rent, you just need to say, okay, the rent, the fixed amount that I need to pay for rent is £80 per week. Utilities usually cost £15 to £20 a week. Then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to overestimate utilities by maybe £10, and then that will bring my rent to about 110 per week, for instance. So you need to make sure that you do that. And then another thing is that you need to make sure that the place that you live at, it's highly recommended in terms of safety. Safety and danger is relative depending on where you come from. For someone like me who lived in Joburg, I know how to survive in a dangerous place. I know how to survive in a place that is not 100% safe. I've been chased a couple of times by people who were trying to take my phone and take my belongings. So I know how to survive the jungle. But not everyone is from a place where it's dangerous and all of that. England is relatively safe. I've never encountered anything. I've heard of stories, but I've never encountered anything myself. But also I stay very much close to my transportation. Is literally 5 minutes walk. So even if I'm like walking at 11 or like 1 a.m., which I hardly do, by the way, I feel safe. I don't feel like my life is in danger. The road is open. There are lights on the street. There are no like dodgy corners that I have to take turns at and all of that. So you just need to make sure that the environment looks a bit safe, because you don't want to get mugged and people taking the things that are valuable to you, right? Another thing that you need to pay attention to is lodging rules. My accommodation is quite new. We're actually the first occupants of this accommodation. They are close to none when it comes to rules. We have close to none when it comes to rules. I can have friends over. Sometimes my friends can even slip over. I can have visitors that slip over. There is no register that I need to sign and all of that. Because we have security and all of that, security systems, there isn't much risk. It is quite risky, I mean, if there is no real control, but there is control into the building and also getting to the lifts. So if someone does come in without authorization, it's usually them taking a chance. But it is quite safe generally to leave here. So check the rules. I personally, like, more especially, I'm a master's student. I don't want like visiting hours restrictions, just because I might have friends over. Either we are studying or either we're just chilling on a Friday night or whatever the case is. I don't want like rules where they'll be like no visiting hours after 11. I've done that undergrad. I don't want to do it again. If you choose uni accommodation, which is usually more secure and more helpful when it comes to like meals and stuff, I like to cook my own meals and I'm not worried about that. But if you don't like cooking, so uni accommodation is usually your best bet, because they serve meals there. If you choose uni accommodations, obviously you will have to adhere to rules, and when you stay in uni accommodation, there are a lot of rules. So check the rules, make sure that they are not violating your rights and you enjoying your space. What else is here? And then with accommodation here, you will need to pay deposit for a lot of accommodations. I said with storeroom, most of the accommodations, they don't require it, but some do. When they do require this deposit, you get it back and it's protected. So you get it back at the end of your lease term. And you can, if your landlord doesn't give it back to you or gives you half of it or whatever the case is, you have a right to like take a legal route in claiming that money back. It is protected by law. And I think that I really enjoy by being in the United Kingdom when it comes to property. Tenants are protected. Like, they are protected. Like, your landlord can't even chase you out of your accommodation. I'm even talking about notice. Like, it's not allowed, because if they do that and you take them to court, the chances that they lose that case are very high. So tenants are very much protected here. I'm not saying that use that to your advantage and just be rowdy, but I'm just saying that you have more protection in the United Kingdom as a tenant than you would maybe in most places in the world. So take advantage of that. The difficult thing for me, and I think this is the last thing that I will talk to, is guarantor. This they require a guarantor. I think this gave a lot of people a headache. So when you are looking or you're signing an AST contract here, they require a guarantor. A guarantor basically has to say that in in the event that you as the tenant fails to honor the contract and pay your rent, they will step in and pay the rent on your behalf, right? This is a requirement. A lot of accommodations require a guarantor. So it is very difficult if you don't have family in the UK. It is very difficult if you don't have friends in the UK who can actually step in as surety for you. Because I mean, where do you start? My scholarship doesn't step in as a guarantor, even though there is guarantee that they will pay me a certain amount every single month, and I'll be able to pay my accommodation the amount that is due to them. They won't give me a letter that says we guarantee that if this person defaults, then we'll be able to step in. Because by law, if they do that, if I decide to squander my monthly rent and don't pay, by law, they will have to pay in that amount. So they don't want to be in that position. For me, I had a friend here in the UK that I met a couple of years ago. So I just reached out to him and asked him if his dad could step in as guarantor for my agreement. And that worked out perfectly for me because his dad, bless his heart, agreed to even send me his ID, signed documents, and say he will step in for me in case I default on my payments. Of course, he did not step in because he was going to actually pay money, but he did it out of trust that all I needed from him was him to become a guarantor, but I would be able to honor my contract and honor my lease payments for the duration of my stay here. So I'm really grateful that I got that opportunity. I'm really grateful that he stepped in and did that for me. So that was helpful for me. But if you don't have family, I don't know where you can start. I don't. I think what you would need to do is, if you don't have family, usually guarantors required for private accommodation. So if you're going to like uni accommodation, they don't require that. All they need from you is a letter that guarantees financial aid, or a letter that guarantees or that shows that you have a scholarship. If the uni is funding you, then you don't even have to stress about that. So I think your best bet, if you don't have a guarantor, is to go stay at university. Otherwise, look for alternative accommodation that doesn't require that. Lastly, it's payment plans. Usually the accommodations here will require 4 installments. So you'll have to pay almost like you have to be done paying your rent for the whole year in March the following year. So if you're starting in September 2020, you should be done paying all your installments by 2021 in March. With me, I get my stipend every month, and it was impossible for me, not impossible, but I didn't want to get into an agreement with my scholarship to pay me in advance, so I'm able to pay this installments in advance as well. So what I did is that I just spoke to the administrators here at my accommodation for them to rewrite my contract and give me a special arrangement. And the arrangement was that I was going to pay my rent every month. But the trick with that is that I now had to pay more than what I would normally pay at any given month. So my rent is about 650 a month. I had to now start paying 850 every month, which is 200 pounds more than what I would normally pay. So that was very, very difficult to do. Yeah, so, but I'm paying, but you don't pay for all the months. You pay until they design the contract in a way that you pay until June, so that if in June, because usually in June, the uni term ends, the people who are left at school is usually master students, postgraduate students. So they don't want people to pay until June, then leave and finish their dissertation from home, and not honoring the rest of the month. So what they do is that they increase their monthly installment to make sure that it covers even the months of July, August, and September. So make sure that you discuss your payment plans with your landlord and make sure that it's suitable for your pocket, suitable for your scholarship. But if you're on scholarship, make sure that you also discuss with your scholarship providers the different options that are available to you as far as accommodation is concerned. So yeah, guys, that is it from me. I think I have given you some pointers, and hopefully this was helpful and you will be able to make the right decision as far as your accommodation is concerned. And I'm wishing you all the best. Just make sure that you make the right decision, taking the points that I've highlighted in this video when making a decision, so that you are able to enjoy your year. I really enjoyed staying here, besides the fact that I had to make that payment arrangement of paying £200 more, and also the fact that I did not get to interact with people as much as I would have loved, which has made it even more difficult to make a lot of friends here. So I would suggest that you stay in a place where you can interact with people as much as possible. So yeah, if you have comments, if you have questions, please comment down below. I will be able to address some of those questions, and I'll try to give you some additional pointers. And if there's something that I missed in this video and you really want to know about that particular thing, don't hesitate to reach out and ask me. I will try my best to answer to your questions. All the best, guys. I wish you well in your journey, and yeah, see you in my next video.